back again. This is the after show chat, and we hope to join other people here.
But other people join us more.
Well, you can't just one join. Both ends got to join.
Anyway, in the Facebook group, Masterminding Integral Aging, there is the link. You just click on the picture. There's this Asian lady with some little thumbnails underneath. You click just there and you can come in. If you don't have a webcam, it's not a problem. It's important that you have a microphone, no?
Yeah.
So we are in the after chat of the show.
Yeah, and
Which was it called?
The Secret Promise of Aging.
Exactly. And we had a wonderful time with Christopher and Durwin Foster. I hope that Durwin will come in. I don't see him yet. And we would like to I would like to express my awe. I mean, I said it in the last few words, my admiration of this man who is taking the challenge of change, inside and outside. And in case you haven't seen it, the show, please go and see it. It is really a document of a person who is sharing about their life, about their development. And it's not someone who tells you what you have to do and, to get this and this and this success, blah, blah.
This is what I did. This is what you should do.
You should do. No, which is so normal today.
Yeah, just very present fellow.
Yeah, and right very here. Personal and at the same time impersonal. This is the real, how can I say, the real wonder. I just noticed that I don't have any earbuds in.
Yeah, so if anybody's here, we wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Roland?
No, that was the broadcast.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Oh.
We are still alone. We still don't see anybody. There is something seeing us, but there's nobody in with us in the room. We're all alone.
There's a cat watching us.
A cat is here. Yeah. No, you cannot do that. I must do this. Here's our cat. He was very quiet during the broadcast, like our doggy. We were talking about nature also, and the joy of nature and the joy of living with these creatures. It's incredible because you learn so much about human behavior by watching animal behavior. And by the way, I'm doing also a website about cats. It's called my-cat.org. And I'm talking about that also. The last post was about how the similarities and the differences are between humans and cats. And, when I have cats since almost 30 years, before I was fearful of cats, now I really love them. And for many years I observed them. I had at least 40, maybe more. They, unfortunately, in countryside, they disappear, or they are poisoned, or whatever happens. So, but I learned about their behavior that much of that, what we think it's only human behavior, no, actually it's not.
Or much of our behavior is actually
animal behavior. It is. These are emotional beings like we are, and they express their emotions directly, while we try sometimes to hide them. But they come through in many of our actions.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing just now that we will get Durwin here to talk about it. And thank you, Roland, for the great show, Heidi. Well done, he says to me. This is, and I'm really grateful, Roland, for your comment tracker. This is still something we are trying it out. It's very new. It's the first time we're trying these things. There's still probably some little things to speed up. Now it's the cat eating my
cable.
The cable of my earphones. Come on,
Hey.
Sunny.
Sunny.
Then he is clawing you. Pay attention. Pay attention. No, leave him. Leave him. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. He's just nervous because he had to be so quiet all the time. Sunny? Okay.
She apologizes for that cat a lot.
Here you see an ear now. He is eating. He is eating the cable. Come on. He's the youngest. He is about 2 years old or something. And he behaves like the boss. Anyway, talking about the plugin which Roland has created, because maybe you know that the event pages on Google Plus have gone away, where we would have all the interactions with the viewers, and we could also bring the comments in the screen very easily. Now you would have to make a lot of workarounds, but at least we can read the comments, and so the audience can be directly interacting with the show, and which makes it so much more personal and what we really like. Yeah. So I said my 5 cents. What are yours?
My 5 cents. I may have 10 cents.
Okay. 10
I
cents.
don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We shall see.
Mm-hmm.
I had a real positive reaction to a couple things. First of all, most obviously, the presence that Christopher had. He was slow in finding the words. These are things that happen with age too. But when we're younger, we could not find those words, no matter how long we took. Let's put it that way. This is a gift of his long practice and his maturing and his growing older and seeing time pass. And this is something that is, you can't say reserved, but it's much more usual with age.
What is much more usual?
This ability to be present, this ability to...
Are you sure? When I see the men sitting on the playing cards and sitting on the benches and chatting about, I don't know what, are they present?
Some part of them is at some level.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The card playing level is active and functioning. Yeah, and we do that. We confuse that with real life. We forget about, as Christopher put it, the connection with, in his terms, heaven. And we're just here on earth and busy with the things that must preoccupy us for much of our life, and for the rest of our life seem like they still have to.
I want to go back to my ex-partner who died. It's already 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And we separated more than 20 years ago, 25 years ago, but we had still a good contact. And I always saw him not present, trying to avoid the deeper questions, trying to do all sorts of things. Then what often older people do, they get their identity by the illnesses they have. Then he has this and this and this and this and this. And I realized only in the last week he had also the setting, which the wife of
Joy.
Joy had, and ictus in English, in Italian. How do you say? Stroke.
Stroke.
Yeah. And he survived it about a week or so, but he couldn't speak anymore. And he was in the hospital, and it was not really a pleasant experience, I think, for him. And I tried to help him a little bit. And I realized that in the last, first it was this fear, complete fear, panic. And then he could calm down. I did the guidance for him to realize that he couldn't change this anymore, because his saying was always, what we cannot change, why piangere, if you can change, piangere means cry.
Correct.
If you cannot change, why would you cry? If you can change is, why would you cry? But, you know, he always thought it wouldn't change.
Yeah.
So he came into this situation, really panicked, and the hospital procedures were not really to calm him down. He tried to speak, couldn't speak anymore, and he was considered as like a dumb person. I'm sure he heard everything. I talked to him, and I got in some way the confirmation that he heard me. And then I could observe that every day he got a little bit calmer and a little bit calmer and a little bit calmer until he really had this, I think, I'm not in him, but I think he had this moment of stillness and of acceptance, and it was a whole different atmosphere. And then, but he still had the decision power, because the very day when it was decided that he would have been transported to a hospice, the very night he died, when finally nobody was around him, everybody out of the room, in this half hour, he died. And I said, bravo, this was good. You have done a good decision, because he never wanted to suffer, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he couldn't accept that he was in this situation. So I think he really came to this realization of what you can come also, we can come also in real life long before we die. And I think, coming back to Christopher, I think he is really an example of that.
Mm-hmm.
How you can be in heaven before you are dead.
Or I could express the way, you need to die before you die.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that you're familiar with the territory.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if and how people can do that, because they said a little bit about it, but in Christopher's case, it obviously was a long time that he was in spiritual training, let's say.
Sure.
And we are not in this extent, and most people are not. So is there a shortcut? I would like to ask Durwin that when he comes in. And I would encourage you to come in and chat. I see that there's somebody watching. So come in and give us your observation and your, how to say, your emotions about it. Yeah. How were you touched, in which way? Or were not, can also be, you know. Mm-hmm. How was your response to what you saw?
How do we tell that someone is watching?
I see it here.
Oh, one viewer.
At the moment, yeah. There was somebody else before.
Hi, doggy.
And we have a little bit, the animals are becoming
restless
because we are too long here on the thing. I ask, he gets some coffee 10 minutes ago, so we wait another bit.
Yeah.
Because I really would like to talk with him, because this show was mainly about his father, I would say, no? To present or give him the possibility to do a thing like this. I'm sure in his writing, you know, it's good, but it's different than really be on stage and, you know, also the let's say anxiety, the stage fright. Oh, you're on the video, Durwin. Come in and click on the image right on top of that and come in. And I really would like to talk with you. You can't engage. Okay, that is a shame. I really would have liked to talk a little bit more with you. Okay.
Oh dear, I'm sorry. Can't come in. That's okay. We'll get a chance to talk again.
Yeah, we will have another show with you, and not necessarily about aging, but about integral psychology.
Yeah.
So Oh, he is calling me. No, you have to click. You have to click on our link, which we sent to you. I will send it to you again. Wait a minute. I send it again, because this would be a double hangout.
Double hangout.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, it is in the outside chat. You will find it.
Mm-hmm.
Just give him a. Because there was a transmission.
There was, and
hello. Hello?
Are we mute?
No. Here is.
Hello?
Yeah,
I hear you.
I hear you.
Hi. Okay.
Right.
I was on. Let's see what's going on here.
You must shut down where you saw us.
Yeah, so just technically, like on the YouTube site, I was chatting there, but you weren't seeing that.
No, I wasn't seeing that. I forgot to mute this one. No, because I'm inside. This is the technicality which sometimes you miss it.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope you have a good cup of coffee now.
Well, yeah, I'm a little jealous of your having coffee, but it's 8:30 p.m. here, so I don't dare.
Yeah.
So, Durwin, I would like to give you more chance to talk a little bit about your idea, your insights of aging. I mean, you are also aging, although you are not old, but aging begins after birth.
Oh, actually, before birth.
Yeah.
Well, is there, how many people are on right now, or is it just?
At the moment, almost nobody. There were,
okay.
So, but it will be on afterwards, so people can watch it later. Normally, there is about 10, 15 people who watch it later.
Yeah, well, I think the main thing is that, you know, I was really wanting to be able to have that opportunity for Dad.
Sure.
For me, I think that one thing I've done is a little bit of volunteer consulting with the local palliative care society. And there it was really just introducing them to the quadrants and that part of the integral model, that they could be, you know, in the dying person's experience, they could be looking at the internal experience of the person and the external kind of medical aspect of what was going on, how the whole system was functioning, and then, you know, what is sort of the relational piece for that person and the cultural messages around death and dying. And using that as a way to kind of scan, using that model as a way to kind of scan where were the gaps in service, you know. And so it seemed to work well for that.
Right.
So yeah, so you know, a lot of places just haven't had the opportunity to think through that model and use that amount of complexity, to include that much complexity in what they're doing. And one of the things about the death and dying was that there was, you know, there wasn't a lot of focus on the internal experience.
Yeah.
So particularly, I guess, and so, yeah, and then I've been reading, and so related to that, the lack of focus on the internal experience, you know, reading right now, Stephen Jenkinson, Die Wise. He's a Canadian fellow, he's on that list. You know, it's a pretty intense sort of postmodern deconstructing the medical model. So, so it's a little bit, you know, in my turn, a little bit retro-romantic, is a little bit overboard, but in certain ways, but he's also very passionate and really does a good job of saying, hey, you know, we need to take responsibility for ourselves, for our internal experience, and not just go along with this medical machine.
Absolutely.
That kind of kicks in, and the denial of death that's enacted in that medical machine, which just wants you to be up and positive and, you know, sort of pretending it's not happening when you're dying. You know?
And still call the specialist 3 days before death.
Yeah. Yeah, right, yeah. So
did you hear her conversation or her description of her ex-partner's death?
I caught a little bit about that, his anxiety and
that was exactly this. I talked with the doctor and said, "What are you doing? What are you doing? Don't you see? No, they wanted to do this and this and this." And fortunately, I didn't have a decision power, but fortunately, his children were saying nothing. You know, don't force him. But still, he was considered like a piece of meat. You know, people talked about him over his head, thinking he is gone, but he was not gone. Only because a person doesn't speak doesn't mean that they are, I don't know where, you know. I found it such a cruelty how people are treated in hospitals. You know, I did my best. I was there every day for 3 or 4 hours. We gave turns, you know, and I tried my best to talk to him and explain him what was happening here, and you know, and that I invited him to embrace the idea that he was dying and that there was nothing to do. And I felt how he got calmer and calmer because somebody explained him what was going on, because he was so shocked. He didn't know what was happening, you know. So after the same thing, after a stroke, you know. So I really, in some way, I like to work for that too, to change these ideas. You know what the doctor said when he had pain, and you saw that he had pain, also physical pain, and I said, give him something. Oh, this is dangerous. I said, dangerous? That he gets addicted, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Where are we?
He's leaving. Yeah. He's leaving. We don't have to worry about addiction.
But they think that death is shouldn't happen.
It's a failure.
It's a failure,
Right.
yeah.
Like,
And so they try to do everything as if the person, they don't recognize death. They don't want to see that this is, I knew it when I saw him. I had seen my mother die, and I saw him and I thought, oh, this is leading there. Yeah? But the professionals, no. Anyway, that was not the topic.
well, no, that was your experience of that system and how it was responding to him. And so, yeah, that's the system component is really, really important. I know in Canada, there's a lot going on with this assisted dying legislation, which understandably is very controversial.
How is that? Can you explain this a moment?
Well, I don't know the details of it. I just know that there's a bill coming in that's, you know, looking at what are the rights around for people to request, I'd like to die now, you know.
Okay, this one.
And what are the parameters around that, you know? So there's certainly a movement to try to, you know, just as the same thing as we see sort of the with hallucinogen, you know, drugs like marijuana, and there's sort of a liberalization happening, and part of that process here in Canada is around this medical assisted dying. So
can I ask you something? But this is part, as far as I've understood, that people drink some poison or even are out of consciousness. What would you think what happens in the moment of dying when you take these things? Are you present or not?
That's a good question. I mean, there would be a whole technical question there around brain science and to understand how that might interact with consciousness. Yeah. I mean, I'm going through the course that Ken Wilber and Andrew Holacek have, and that's the first one I have on that list where they go, you know, the Tibetans, just probably the most contemplative culture ever,
Yeah.
Tibetan Buddhism, and they really kind of mapped out the process of dying and gave very specific practices to prepare yourself. But the basic idea, and so I don't know if anyone's done the research on the brain side to go along with that, but what they say is, you're looking at the process of, it's really the same process as when we go to sleep every night. And when you think about it, when we go to sleep, like we might have it in our waking dream head that we're going to wake up in the morning, but as soon as we're asleep and dreaming, we don't know that we're going to wake up in the morning.
No.
If you're not lucid dreaming, you don't know you're going to wake up. You just so we're kind of doing this every night. We're just not paying enough attention to that process, just because we don't pay attention to the we haven't been contemplative enough to penetrate around the clock with the witness consciousness, right? And I'm not saying that I've done that either. We do the best we can with the parameters we have in our life, and I've developed fairly good dream recall, so I seem to have a pretty strong memory of what was going on the night before.
That's great. Mm-hmm.
So that's been helpful in my life, as kind of a soul practice. But the opportunity is there, because we do have the maps, and yeah, we may see some technologies come along that will help make this easier, like lucid dreaming technologies, stuff like that could help.
Would be great.
I'm just thinking out of the box here, but if someone was passing away and had a lucid dreaming technology with them, that could really help.
This is being recorded. The world will know your random thoughts.
Okay.
Yeah. I think to arrive at this stage where you can really be aware in every moment, I think you have to dedicate your whole life to that, to the practice, because I think it's really difficult.
I think it is, and I think that one thing I was thinking about yesterday preparing for this call was 8 zones of experience, or 4 quadrants, and and Ken has written about how the lower right quadrant of the system really sets the bar, average level of consciousness for everybody. So it's pretty hard to go beyond what the mode of production is in your society.
Yeah. There's so much pressure against going too high. Everybody expects you to be a certain way, and in order to live in the society, you have to act that way.
You won't be able to earn a living, or you won't be able to find a partner, right? You won't have a relationship, or you won't have work, or both.
We have internet now, and we got to know each other by internet. And before, you were desperate because you don't find anybody to talk about. Now we are talking with you, for instance, and in the past we talked with other people, and it's beginning to. We are beginning to find the people with whom to talk about these things which are really interesting to us, because it's so frustrating to be always looked like, what are you talking about?
Right.
And I think that's the general experience of people who are getting into this integral, let's say, at least mentally first, and maybe then also as a person, to have few people only who can share the experience and the insights. And so,
is there a integral community in Vancouver?
So I mean, Mark, there's a connection there around the men's work. So a number of years back, so we did have a Vancouver Integral Salon, which went for several years, and I was somewhat involved with that, and it was sort of like a first go around, for Vancouver, kind of 1.0. I think there were some ways that wasn't super deep. Like, I mean, we're all, I think we get it conceptually. I first came across integral stuff in 2001, and but then I've even after and met Ken, and even after those first 10 years, I've spent the last 3 or 4 years working with this other fellow I was mentioned, Jeffrey Quintero, to really not, because sometimes the integral map can become a formal structure.
Yes.
It ends up basically being like an orange, rational, modern structure of meaning rather than a post-formal experience.
And it's often taken as that.
But because it was orange, I could accept it easily.
Yeah.
This makes sense.
Right, makes sense. Yeah. I mean, it's very coherent, and so I think so people can get stuck a little bit, and I think I did, but I kept working with Jeff, so kind of pushed through that and into really the I guess more the experience of it. So I think our early Vancouver experiences were a little bit like that. For everybody was sort of new, and everyone kind of the different subterranean motivations that didn't surface till later. Money and sex challenges that always come up. Money, sex, power, over and over again.
Yeah, that's it.
It's all one word, isn't it? Yeah.
You got a good sense of humor, Mark. Yeah.
Yeah, he has indeed.
Well.
But I did some men's work. So there was, I sort of catalyzed a men's group here, and then some people, the co-founders of the salon came in, a couple of other men, and so we had an integral men's group that lasted about 18 months. And then at the point when we would say we hit the shadow, that group kind of came apart.
Wow.
We got a year and a half out of it.
Yeah.
So that's good, and I made a good friend out of that process. And then I've just finished doing another year of men's work locally, right where I live in North Vancouver.
And why do you do it online? So you can do it too, because I always push him to do something with men. He has something to share. But he's so
Yeah.
You can. I teach you how to do Hangouts. Then you don't have to do it
I'll do
publicly
it when
if you
I'm
don't
ready.
want.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
No, it's not.
Yeah, because I've been looking for because this men's group then that was going for a year here, we had an external facilitator come in. Then that sort of just ended in October. The day before Trump was elected. So we've kind of just gone back to the buddy. I had one buddy in that group, and I'm sort of in touch with him. But yeah, I think the men's work is important, and it's not clear for me at what point we also want to have mixed gender group too.
But I think first women have to clean up their stuff, and men have to clean up theirs. Otherwise, it gets again mixed through. And we still, women and men, we unconsciously respond to the other gender in a certain way. And until we're not clear about that, about these conditionings, I think it's not really good to do too much mixed groups. In certain things, yes. Certain things, yes, but not when it's about the shadow thing.
Yeah, it takes a good deal of work to make a mixed group happen, really. I think.
You can do like the circling and these things you can do in mixed groups, but not when you want to really go on the gender topic. I wouldn't do that. I mean,
yeah. Well, and you're participating right now. We're talking about this, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, I know. We are talking, and let's say superficially. I'm not listening to your intimate stories, which you wouldn't necessarily do when there is a woman around, especially when you would share something which could be taken as sexist or something like this, you know,
Right.
and then, or you wouldn't tell it, or the woman might be, and this is not the sense of a
Right.
gender group, let's say. So it's better be by themselves, in my opinion. I have done feminine power, and it was for me a turning point in understanding many of these things, of the conditionings in which we are.
It actually enabled us to
yeah.
get together and stay together
Absolutely.
successfully.
Because I had understood some of these mechanisms. And when he came like this, and I said, do you want to know or not? And he said yes. And so I could explain him many things which were going on in him and between us. So that really enabled us, because otherwise we would have blown up like all the other relationships. But I'm really glad about it. He was able to be open to that and to look at what I told him, what he's doing, you know? And he said, oh, I don't know. And so we have, I think, a really, I never had a relationship
What I do
like
now
that.
is much more subtle. She doesn't always get it.
Look, this is the level.
That's great. I mean, I think, you know, you guys are really walking that talk of power of relationship, and you know, I would just be hopeful that when the kids are grown up and stuff, that we can, you know, right now my wife and I are sort of treading water a lot of the time, raising 3 kids in,
Oh my, yeah.
you know, busy urban environment. So suburban. That's my daughter just came in. Hi, Delaney. It's their last day of school before Christmas. So.
Yeah, you definitely need some
What,
quiet time.
Delaney? Yeah. Oh, you didn't say anything? Okay. I'm just on the video here for a few more minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, she turns 14 next week.
Uh-huh.
This is an interesting age, isn't it?
You get to watch The Watcher a lot.
Yeah, I watch The Watcher, exactly.
Okay.
What should we do?
I think we can leave him to his daughter and to the family.
So.
I'm glad that you came in, because I felt I wanted to connect a little bit more to you. And I'm really grateful that your father was there. It touched my heart.
Yeah, really did. Changed our evening, not our whole day, mind you, but our evening, what's left of it.
Okay, Durwin, we will connect for further talks. Okay, and thank you very much. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.